I don't know if you've noticed, but Warframe isn't exactly good at making things scale, whether it be the design of a Warframe and its abilities, the toughness of encountered enemies, or just what you're given as loot. Scaling is a huge deal in Warframe because it allows the player to stay relevant no matter what point of the game they're at. In a game where enemies over level 100 put you in a constant state of "oh god please don't one-shot me," namely because of how broken enemy scaling is, players need to have power that never falters at high levels, which is why high damage status weapons such as the Tigris Prime are popular choices, not just because of their damage, but because it's the only methodical way a player can fight the bullshit armored bullet sponges they'll encounter at high levels. There's a reason why some Warframes are considered top tier. Loki for example is considered top tier because invisibility, permanent enemy disarmament, and removing enemy aggro never loses its power at any stage of the game. It doesn't matter how much damage Orthorax can deal, at some point everyone reaches a place where enemies are too tough to kill or too damaging to deal with without a way to get around being one-shot, such as invisibility or invincibility. Crowd control and utility are the only two things in Warframe that will always remain useful regardless of whatever level area the player enters. So what does any of that have to do with endgame? Endgame is defined as reaching the stage in a game where you ask yourself more frequently, what the fuck do I do now? By definition, Fashion Frame is endgame, because there's nothing else to do besides spend hours customizing your aesthetics and showing off how stylishly fresh your Warframe looks, all the while your room is likely a biohazard zone and you've spent more time shitposting than actually playing the game. Memes aside, obviously Fashion Frame is not endgame, because that implies there's nothing better to do besides spend hours pushing the random colors button until by sheer luck you get something decent. The reason why endgame cannot truly exist is because Warframe struggles with keeping the player occupied once they've already acquired all the typical veteran stuff, that is fully modded and format weapons, Warframes, and godly rhythms. The Plains of Eidolon are not endgame, because they're given to you right from the get-go, not to mention all it provides for the player is a secondary layer of grind which will probably be pointless once Venus Open World comes out. If anything, Plains of Eidolon can be described in less than 7 seconds.
This is... What? This is boring.
Discussion and shitposting outside of the game is not endgame, because while memes are a core value of the community, DE does not take much player feedback into consideration unless it's a minor fix or something the community will campaign for. In other words, in order for something to be true endgame, it must give the player something of worth that never loses value or at least won't for a long time. It must be something that can't be simply taken out of the game at any point in time, and most importantly, it must be something that remains relevant to the player. The only thing that really comes to mind here are Riven mods, but given how DE has the ability to change the potency of Rivens by simply tweaking Riven disposition, every player runs the risk of having to camp and trade chat when the day comes that DE decides that your favorite weapon is no longer not meta. If an online game fails to keep a player occupied after they've beaten the game so to speak, then it has a poor if not non-existent endgame. Continent of the Ninth Seal kept players invested by allowing players to enter a boss rush dungeon, where every successive victory gives high-level rewards that can be sold, used, or turned into resources for creating higher-level or top-tier equipment. Guild Wars 2 keeps players invested by giving them the opportunity to explore an already existing world if they haven't already, as well as allowing them to go through high-level content and raids with other players, in addition to giving players the ability to fight another server of players where everyone is up-leveled to make an even playing field. What do we have that can even compare? Unbalanced PvP? A PvP sportball game that literally nobody even remembers? 3 randomly generated missions that reset every day and are usually beaten in less than 1 hour? Unless the upcoming Void Onslaught game mode or Venus Open World gives something for players to do that doesn't get boring after 30 minutes, Warframe can never have a true endgame. Failure to capitalize on the player base's enthusiasm to keep playing despite having already cleared the star chart, every available quest, and focus grinding if applicable is failure to give the player something meaningful to spend their time on. The issue with being a veteran is that right from the start, you're told and given something to work towards. Kill Captain Vor. Get Archwing. Rescue the Operator. Get Focus Powers. Once you're no longer given a clear idea of what to accomplish, you're effectively a blind man in a maze. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Nobody knows where to go. Nobody knows what's ahead. And most importantly, nobody knows if their current situation is temporary or permanent. The game still suffers from a variety of problems, but failure to provide veterans with something worth doing for a while is failure to keep players invested. And if Warframe's longevity is something that DE takes seriously, I would suggest doing something about Mastery Rank 23 and higher players spending more time talking about the game rather than actually playing the game. Thank you for watching.